All right, welcome to DTV, the Vlogger Kid. I'm going to be doing a quick cover off my new favorite anime, Vinland Saga. It is a anime based off Nordic lore and Vikings and all types of cool stuff. Just so you do know, there's going to be some spoilers in here, but I'm going to give you my honest take on the first two seasons. So let's jump right into it. All right, so hopping right into it. Like I said, this is on Netflix and it's called Vinland Saga. The main character in it is going to be this young gentleman, Thorfinn. Thorfinn. You'll hear Thorfinn throughout this whole time. It's hilarious. He's a funny young kid, and he is the son of Thors. Thors, also known as the Troll of the Jom, is the introduction character. Thorfinn is his son. As you know from Viking folk lore, the Vikings were conquerors. Thorfinn, whenever he's young, he's following his dad, Thors, also known as the Troll of Jom, so you may hear me use those interchangeably. He's following him around. His dad is very stoic, very modest. You can definitely tell that he used to be a warrior. You don't get too much of a backstory. They do kind of hint from time to time that the Troll of Jom is a very, very strong and OP, a very great warrior, and he has a lot of respect throughout his community. Um, Thorfinn follows him around, and he wants to learn from his dad. And as his dad has warned him in the past, war is not good. War is not pretty. His first warrior and conqueror that he comes into is Askeladd. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Askeladd is a traditional Viking. He is a very strong, another OP character. He's the first quote unquote villain that we find into this whole entire series. Throughout the series, you'll see that Thorfinn is playing with wooden knives, wooden shields, and he wants to prove himself to his father that he is also a warrior. As soon as they fall into contact with Askeladd, we learn some things. We learn that Askeladd is a traditional Viking. He is a true Viking. Some things do happen. Things are escalated quickly, and Thorfinn essentially watches his dad die right in front of him by the hands of Askeladd. Thorfinn then follows Askeladd for the next few years. There's not really a time jump. We don't give away a time frame, but we see the sweet, innocent kid, Thorfinn. He gets turned into a true savage. Throughout his voyage, you'll see things that it will throw you for a curve. It definitely threw me for a curve. You see one of the craziest character arc switches in all of anime, in my opinion. Again, this is a newer age anime. It's really crispy. I love the hairstyles. I love the darkness. It's definitely an actor change with the voice. And you see Thorfinn turn into a true savage. Um, his only goal now is to avenge his father's death. Through trials and tribulations, again, like I said, you run into a few different characters. One of them being Canute. Canute is the prince. All right, so you got the king. He's running around. He's not too important to me. But then you have his son Canute, and Canute has a brother. I forgot his brother's name, but the focal point is going to be on Canute. So we've introduced the three main characters: Canute, Thorfinn, and Askeladd. Throughout this character arc, Thorfinn's only goal is to avenge his father's death. So he actually joins the Vikings and he follows around Askeladd as he goes and conquers. He runs into Canute, who is the prince. The prince's right hand man is Askeladd, and that's how those three are brought together. On one of the voyages, Thorfinn meets one of the craziest, one of the funniest characters. He's personally my favorite. His name is Thorkel. He's a very big, powerful, and strong Viking. And here comes one of your spoilers. He is related to Thorfinn. During their trials and tribulations, Thorfinn and Thorkel, they begin to fight, and no warrior is even coming close to Thorkel. He is a giant human being. He's a giant man. So whenever he is built up and finally brought, you'll understand that Thorfinn's got his hands full. It's great. It's funny. It's really good content. Um, they stand up and it kind of reminds you in the biblical sense of a David and Goliath. Again, he is a traditional Viking, and he is with Askeladd. Okay, so they're conquering, they're running around, and they run into Thorkel. One of the things Askeladd says, and I'm going to paraphrase along the lines of, if you want to show your true strength, you want to show your true warrior, and you're ready to fight me, I want you to go fight that giant. Long story short, Thorkel and Thorfinn, they end up battling. Thorfinn cuts off one of his fingers, cuts off one of Thorkel's fingers, and then he is brutally injured. He has to swim back to Askeladd. He's proven that he can injure opponents. He can prove that he is a true warrior. Askeladd knows that with age, age is undefeated. You're going to be old. So he understands that Thorfinn is serious about being a warrior, and that opens up his eyes. So after Askeladd's eyes are opened up that Thorfinn is a true warrior, he now has to keep Thorfinn a little bit more serious. This kind of bleeds into season two. They're still following each other around. Every now and again, it seems that Thorfinn thinks that he is ready and he's ready to challenge Askeladd to avenge his father's death. Another spoiler alert, he does not get to kill Askeladd. Askeladd dies. It is a boring death. It is not a great death, and you can see the emotions on Thorfinn's face. After this, Thorfinn realizes that he can't have all this hate in his heart forever. The only person that he wanted to kill to show he was a true Viking dies, and it is not a good death. It is not rewarding. It is the only downfall that I see in this anime series. Afterwards, Thorfinn, he leaves the Vikings and he is turned into a slave. This threw me for a curveball because you see Thorfinn being a crazy warrior. You think he's going to get that great justice, that almighty kill to avenge his father's death, and it never happens. Askeladd dies. Thorfinn becomes a slave, and he is a slave on this farm. A farm is full of just very humble, generous people. Again, they had slaves back in the day, so Thorfinn's a little guy, but he is a hell of a farmer. He's a hell of a worker, and he's just quiet. He shows up, does what he has to do, and honestly, it's kind of depressing to see one of these arcs change. You really wanted to see him avenge his father's death, and it never happens. But in hindsight, he kind of turns a page and becomes more stoic as his father wanted. He is on this farm for years. Again, they're very hazy with the timelines, but he learns a lot of things. He learns how to mill. He learns how to grow vegetables and vegetation, and then he meets a couple characters throughout there. And this does bleed into season two, as you will see here. Thorfinn, he is not the warrior that he wants to be. He is not the warrior that he used to be. He's a calm, stoic guy. He doesn't have any friends. He just shows up to work and then he goes home. You know he's a warrior. You know he's a killer, and you're just waiting for you're waiting for that demon to be unleashed, and it never really gets unleashed. He meets a friend. His name is Einar. Einar is a former slave as well, and he is sold off to the same farm that Thorfinn's at. While at the farm, they become friends. They become pals. He is kind of weary of Thorfinn because you look at this guy, he's a small man, he's got cuts all over himself, but you're just kind of like, there's something behind those eyes. He Einar is a very outspoken character. Whenever he is talking, he wants to talk to these masters and tell them that there's other ways. Very similar to the Jom Troll. Okay, so Thorfinn's sitting around, he's like, you need to just calm down. You just do your job. It's like there are plenty of people in this world who do not care what you have to say. The best thing is just to keep your head down and continue to work. Well, Einar's not going for any of that. He's very outspoken. He gets himself into a few sticky situations or whatever. Thorfinn will come over and essentially kind of save him. To go ahead and get close to wrapping this up, things escalate. King Canute is now the king. His father dies, and he's essentially, he's a mad king. So he's conquering, he's pillaging, and he comes into this forest wherever Thorfinn and Einar are both slaves. The show builds up. There's a very climatic moment. Thorfinn actually approaches Canute. And if you look at Thorfinn from where he started to where he is now, he's not the warrior. He's not the same guy. He doesn't have that kill. He doesn't have that animosity in his eyes anymore. And it's very interesting to see how they bring everything together. Essentially, Thorfinn, these are the first two seasons. Essentially, Thorfinn comes up to the voyage. He's like, hey, I want to speak to the king. He's like, I used to be in his honorary guard. And they're like, no, you're not. Look at you. You're soft. And they bring out one of their most prestigious warriors. Thorfinn and the warrior, they go to battle. And Thorfinn does not throw a punch. He's like, if you can hit me 100 times and I do not pass out, you can speak to the king. However, if I get knocked out or I pass away or you kill me, so be it. Thorfinn being the warrior and still having that inside of him, he takes all 100 blows. He then meets with the king and he tells him, listen, I am that Thorfinn. I am the one that gave you that cut on your face. There are many ways that we can go about this. There are many different angles in this battle. I don't want to battle anymore. I want to use my words. So it's a full circle from him being a kid and then watching his father die and then having just pure hate in his heart for Askeladd and then not getting the joy to kill Askeladd and then being sold off as a slave. And then he meets the king, and instead of wanting to fight him and go to war, he talks his way out of it. And this will come into the season 2 finale, where pretty much he understands that he wants to build a place for slaves. He wants to build a place for people. So him and Einar go back to his village. They return to Iceland. He sees his sisters. He sees his villagers. He sees his mother. He gets a clean haircut and preps you for season 3. So it's a full circle. It's a great anime. Like I said, it's one of my favorite ones that I've watched this year. The characters in there, the side characters, they kind of stay away from. They have about 4 or 5 main ones. I gave you my take on these 3 or 4. Again, go ahead and hit that like, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to be doing anime reviews. I've got hundreds on the list because I'm an anime head. So I'm going to be doing reviews once every couple of weeks. Be sure to tune in. Check me out on my socials at DT the Vlogger Kid on Instagram. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Holla at your boy.